Did you know that we're hosting the Aesthetic Marketing Seminar virtually this year? The AMS is a 2-day deep dive in straight to the point, actionable items for spa owners to take their businesses to the next level. We talk about ways to generate multiple streams of revenue in your business. We share formulas for creating irresistible offers for your sales funnels. We talk about systems to get you out of the treatment room so you can truly act as CEOs. We share strategies for getting your new hires booked and so much more. If you're already a student of any of our Addo Aesthetics programs, your ticket is 100% free, and yes, you will get the recordings. If you're not a student of ours but still want to attend, your ticket is only $97, and yes, you get to keep the recordings as well. Mark your calendars for September 20th and 21st. This is an event that can help you finish the year strong, not to be missed. Hello, my dears, Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. Let me tell you, you are in for a treat today because I am welcoming back my dear friend, Kendra, to the podcast. Kendra is one of those people that you find yourself asking, how the heck does she do it? She is kind, funny, and caring, coupled with intelligence, passion, and drive. And you know how Jim Rohn has that quote that says you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with? When you're looking for those people in your life, and Kendra's in your life, Kendra makes the list she gets in the circle every single time. So I feel lucky to have worked with her in my company. I feel so grateful to call her a friend, and I'm so excited to share this interview with you guys today. Now, in our conversation, we're talking about how a small business owner can operate like a Fortune 500 CEO. Imagine operating your spa, how a Fortune 500 company operates the business, the company. So how does Kendra know how Fortune 500 CEOs operate? Well, she was an executive in corporate America for some of the largest brands in the world prior to starting her company. It's a great interview, and I really hope that you enjoy it as much as I did. But before we jump into that, have you marked your calendar for the Aesthetic Marketing Seminar? It is virtual, a virtual event happening September 20th and 21st from 10 to 3 Eastern Time. If you are an active student of ours in Addo Aesthetics, your ticket is 100% free. And yes, you will get access to the recordings. We'll upload them into the members area so you can watch and rewatch at your convenience. If you are not a student of ours, but you're interested in topics like generating more revenue for your spa, right? Who isn't interested in that? I hope that you are. If you want to learn how to come up with irresistible offers for your automated sales funnels, if you're in the hiring stage and you want to find fast strategies for getting your new hires booked, or maybe you're wanting to get out of the treatment room, you want to learn how using systems in your business can get you out of the treatment room. We're talking about that and so much more. So I want to invite you to attend for only $97. This is 2 days of high-level strategy, actionable to-dos for spa owners based around what is working right now in the industry. And yes, when you sign up, when you get your ticket for $97, you will also get the recording so that you can rewatch anytime that's convenient for you. For more information, we've got all the links that you'll need linked up below this episode. So check it out, and I hope to see you there. All right, so let's go ahead and let me read Kendra's bio for you real quick, and then we will jump right into that interview. So Kendra is a business and funding strategy expert with over 10 years experience helping entrepreneurs and Fortune 500 companies launch, grow, and scale their businesses by combining business credit and strategy. She's coached over 100 small businesses through successful launches and helped them acquire millions in funding collectively. Kendra worked as a commercial banking specialist for almost a decade and closed over $1 billion in business loans. She has led several multi-million-dollar business transformations for some of the largest brands in the world. Most recently, Kendra helped launch a dozen new private label brands for one of the largest retailers in the US. Kendra specializes in applying the same strategies and techniques that she used for large corporations to help small business owners scale to 6 figures and beyond. Her groundbreaking methods have been featured in numerous media outlets, including ABC, Fox, NBC, Yahoo Finance, Black Enterprise, and the New York Weekly. She is a true powerhouse. Check her out. I think you'll love this interview. And without further ado, let's go ahead and play it. Kendra, my dear, I'm so happy to have you back on the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. You look beautiful as ever.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you. So I wanted to bring you on because this topic that I'm really interested in and has continually been coming up is the difference between creating a job for yourself and building a company, right? Building something that lasts. And I know I'm going to do another episode on that. I'm going to talk about it a lot more, but you really came to mind as someone who, I mean, you have such an impressive resume. You've worked with some of these big Fortune 500 and probably bigger than that companies. But so much of what you're teaching now that you've kind of pivoted out of the corporate world is teaching small businesses how to operate like Fortune 500 companies, how to think like CEOs and run their business so that they are safe, right? So that you're not constantly at risk, which we really saw highlighted in the past 18 months or however long this pandemic has been going on, right?
Absolutely.
So where do you want to start? Where do you start when you're talking with small businesses as kind of this introduction of the difference between the mindset or the thought process from these Fortune 500 companies to a small business owner?
So that is a great question. Thank you so much for leading in with that. One of the things that I talk to about with small business owners when we start this whole kind of what I call your CEO journey is really looking at what are we focusing on in our business and is that actually the right thing? So, and this is going to make sense in a minute when I clarify. A lot of time, especially as new business owners, we are consumers of things that we see, right? We're consumers of the finished product. We're consumers of marketing, right? And so when you're a consumer of anything, you're only seeing what happened outwardly, right? You're not thinking about all of the things that happened or the foundation that had to be laid in order for you to see this beautiful end result. If you think about looking at a beautiful, like multi-million-dollar mansion, you actually never see the foundation, right? But that mansion would not exist without the foundation. So when I start with clients talking about like, how do you start operating in your inner Fortune 500 company? How do you become that true CEO? Well, the CEO's job is to make sure that that foundation is solid. And a lot of times those are the unsexy things that we don't think about. Is what do my processes look like? I am very focused on process-based organizations. What does my team look like? What do my systems look like? All of those things that we don't necessarily see externally, but are the most important things for your business. All right.
How much energy, effort, focus do you put on core values and understanding your ideal client avatar?
Ooh, those are the cornerstone of your business. You can have an amazing, like, awesome thing that you do. You can be the best at what you do. If you're serving the wrong person, it's not going to work.
I know that's been something too that's been coming up in our Growth Factor program. It's like, look, guys, I know this is like business 101, but let me show you how we tie this back, because your Facebook ads, your messaging on social media, all the things, if you don't know who that person is and what they're about, then speaking to them is going to be really, really hard. And it all comes back to like your core values is like, who are you as a company? Right? What do you care about? What do you believe in? What do you stand for?
Absolutely.
And then who are you serving? Right?
And if you don't know those things, like if you think about it, where is your identity coming from? Like every company, this is one thing that Fortune 500 companies spend a lot of time. I don't think people know how much time Fortune 500 companies spend on creating their corporate identity, right? And creating, building their business around who they want to be and who they actually serve. So if I were to go behind the scenes, like for Target, right? And a lot of people may not know this, but like Target has a very simple mission, and everything that they do is based on that mission. And I'm going to misquote it, but I want to say to bring the joy of everyday life to all families, right? That is Target's mission. And think about it. When you go in Target, you feel joy.
People love Target. People love, and it's so interesting too. I'd be curious what Walmart's mission statement is. Because when they are different, right? And I'm sure there's people that love Walmart, but there's a big difference. You hear people say Target and, and it's like, what's really different in these two locations? Is it how they're presenting? Is it the quality of the things they're selling? Like, they're both big department stores, right? That are selling similar type of items. Yet I love going to Target. I hate going to Walmart.
But if you go back to like core values, right? And that mission and that vision and knowing who you serve, because people may not know this, but Target and Walmart has very different target audiences. They serve a very different client. Even if you shop at both, right? Target is serving somebody very specifically. And so is Walmart. I say that to say Target's, the experience that you feel when you go into Target is based on the fact that their whole thing is about creating an experience. When you shop, that is the whole thing. And so that defines all of the other things that happen behind the scenes in that company. And so if we're wanting to operate our business like a Fortune 500 company, one, we have to understand, okay, who are we actually serving? What is their name? What do they do on a daily basis? Do we know this person intimately, right? And then the second thing we think about is what experience do I want to give this person who I'm serving? Who do I want this person to look at me as, right? And I think a lot of times we'll jump into business, not actually spending time focusing on those things, because guess what? They're not things people can see.
Yeah. Right? And that's the hard piece. That's the hard piece, but it is a feeling, right? And it is, and to go back to the Target Walmart thing, I'm sure there's people that love Walmart. I'm sure there's people that go in and are like, this is my place. This is my favorite store. I love getting great deals here, right? And that is the experience for them. So we have to, there was clearly an emotional connection that everybody feels to one or the other, right? And we choose to go to one of those stores, to a business, based on how we feel when we're there. Absolutely. And so for us as a small business, we have to remember that we are making people feel a certain way as well when they interact with us, when we communicate with them, right? Whether it's our customer service, what is the whole experience from start to finish? What is that for our client?
Absolutely. And it's important to, Fortune 500 companies, once again, I'm going to say, spend so much time on this part of the business that us as small business owners don't necessarily do the same, because we're chasing after the visible things like, oh my God, I need to build my website, right? My Instagram needs to be popping. Like, I need my logos. I need a photo shoot. And it's like, do you know who you're shooting these photos for? How do you know?
Okay, so let me kind of play devil's advocate with you and say that Target probably has millions of dollars that they can invest spending on this. I'm a small business owner generating $250,000 a year. How much I got to pay my bills? I got to pay my employees. Where's the time to do this? How do I do this? How do I operate without the same funds as a Fortune 500 company?
Oh, that's a really good one. So here's the thing. I'm going to pull from Amazon. One of my team members on my team, he actually was an executive at Amazon, and he gave me this little tidbit. So I'm not going to take credit for it. Amazon, one of the largest companies in the world, right? Whenever they're about to do something, launch something new, do something new, they only operate with about 50 to 60% of the information. And then they go do it. And they let the rest give them feedback by actually taking action. So here's the thing, as a small business owner, you got one or two resources. You got time or you got money, right? So the best way to learn is by actually doing. And I would rather, prime example, I'm not gonna say this is mine either, but I'm gonna quote Joel Irway, right? And he basically says, would you rather go spend months and months like doing market research, right? Ad nauseum, trying to figure out and tweak your perfect client and figure out, is this gonna work? Does this offer resonate? Or would you rather spend a couple $100 on Facebook ads and see if anybody clicks on them and actually resonates with your offer, right? And so I say all that to say, you don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to have a lot of time. What you do have to have is your initial direction and then the gumption to get out there and test it and see if it's right. I think there's a folly that a lot of us small business owners fall into, that we believe that we have to launch everything perfectly. Hell, I have an entire program called Unsexy Launch where we talk about how you don't have to launch things perfectly. Data is going to be your best friend. And I always say that I straddle the fence between a scholar and a practitioner, right? Because Lord knows I've been in school and have enough degrees to be a scholar. So I do like to study, but there's a point in time where that study has to come out of the vacuum and you just have to do. And so for anybody that's like, oh, I don't have the money to pay for market research, get out there and do some real market research. Right.
Like, and you can do that your own. It's so interesting. We were just talking about this the other day, is like, find 10 people, whether that's friends, family, whoever, and say, hey, I am working on a new product for my business. You are the exact ideal client. I'd love 15 minutes of your time to ask you some questions. And as spa owners, right, who's going to say no to a comp spa service or something like that, right? Like, you're getting somebody on your table, you're doing a service. Like, we have the ultimate trading capacity. And most people, if you have some type of relationship with them anyways, or know someone through a friend, they'd be more than happy to give you 15 minutes of their time to answer questions with nothing in exchange.
Absolutely. And I think, but therein lies another thing, right? As CEOs, and I deal with this with my clients all the time. I'm just like, go out there and do it. Right? And I know that my personality is, I always joke that, like, I don't have sense enough to be embarrassed or anything anyway. Like, I don't have an embarrassment gene, apparently. So, like, I don't really care what people think.
But I think what it is, Kendra, is that you're not attached to, so the business is not your baby. It is your baby, but it's not, it's a business. It's its own entity, right? So if that idea takes off or if it fails, it doesn't affect you.
No. Where
so many business owners, it's like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't work, my life is over. And right. So they are connecting the outcome to who they are as a person instead of I'm going to test this and this is what the market is telling me. For me, that's one of the biggest differences between operating as a CEO and being a small business owner that's connected to this is my vision of what this business is supposed to be.
Exactly. And you hit the nail right on the head, like being so tied up in the product that you are selling or the service you are selling versus your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Your product and your purpose may be two different things, right? Yeah. And that is not a reflection of you. If you launch something and it doesn't work, that's just feedback, right? Mm-hmm. I think about as a CEO, like you guys would not could not imagine how many failed things happen like inside of Fortune 500 companies. Like anybody on here, just do a quick Google search about Target Canada. Like, didn't work, friends. Did not work at all. But that was feedback, right? Won't do that again. And it just is what it is. And one of the things, and I'd like, Target, don't get me for telling all these things, but I remember on my first day at orientation at Target, one of the first lessons we learned, they asked everybody, like, raise your hand if you shop at Target. And everybody's like, yeah, we love Target. They're like, do you think you are Target's guest? And we're like, yeah, we're Target's guest, is what Target calls their customers. And they're like, you are not the guest. You work here now, right? You are not, regardless of what you think you know about Target, regardless of whether you shop here, you are not the customer anymore. So don't think that you know what the customer wants because you are not them. And I think sometimes as business owners, we'll go into our little hidey hole and we'll be like, oh my God, I've created something amazing. All of the peoples are going to love it. And then we launch it in crickets and we're like, I'm a failure. Ah!
No, and that happens. That's happened to me. I was actually just having a conversation. There was one of our programs, Spa Retail Rockstar. There was this whole section in there. And I was like, this is the most valuable section in the whole course. I love it. It's going to change everybody's life. This was the biggest deal for me. And then I do my surveys and it came out as the least popular section. So I was like, okay, well, we'll just shrink that a little bit. And the thing that I thought didn't help very much, they're like, this is the best part. If I would stick to what I thought, then my program would not be helping people in the same way. So it's a lot of ego also, because it's like, you think, no, this is it, but it's not.
You're not your customer. Well, at the end of the day, you're not, right? And I think so many of us think we are.
So let's talk about, I want to transition a little bit into why this even matters, right? Because there's some people that are like, well, I want a family business. I don't want a corporation. I don't want that kind of corporate lifestyle where they chew you up and spit you out, right? There's this kind of like negative association. But the benefit of running your business in the same way, you just had to take a month leave of absence, right? For your own personal reasons. And you can do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Not miss the beat.
I had a baby, right? I was out for 4 months. It's like, well,
I gave myself maternity leave, right? Like, it is what it is. That is honestly has been the most important thing. And I get that a lot, honestly, Daniela, like when people say, what if I don't want to be a Fortune 500 company? I'm going to say like why I built my foundation on that. And I'll come back full circle to answer the question. One, I have to realize, right? Not a large portion of the population have actually worked inside of true corporate America, and definitely not at the levels that I worked at, right? Some context here. I was an executive. I was a very young executive in corporate America. And along with that came the corner office, the expense accounts, the like literally hopping on private jets, like, and the very nice, handsome, steady paycheck with the very nice, handsome bonus, right? And so for me, when I actually loved corporate America. And when I left, I said, why should I trade in my lifestyle that I have now? Oh, also, I had unlimited vacation in my corporate job. So, as a business owner, why, if I am doing my life's work, if I am operating in my calling, if I am out here serving people, why do I deserve less than what I had when I was in corporate America? And so,
and was purpose the primary reason that you left?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think purpose and freedom, right? And so I wanted to be able to, one, serve who I've been called to serve. And I truly felt that, you know, me being in the places that I had been in, being in the boardrooms that I had been in, and honestly, being the only woman of color, only woman, and then only woman of color in a lot of those places, when I looked around, one day I just really said, like, this is not who I'm necessarily meant to serve. Right? Do my talents definitely benefit here? Absolutely. Am I crushing the game here? Yes. But is this who I'm truly meant to serve and what I'm truly meant to do? And for me, it was all about, how can I reach back and help as many people who were like me before, who didn't necessarily have the opportunities that I had to open up the doors that opened up for me. I would be remiss to say that nobody opened up doors for me or gave me opportunities. So I just felt my purpose was to do that and to help people build their businesses and create that Fortune 500 lifestyle, but on their own terms. Mm-hmm. Right. So that was huge for me. Freedom was another thing. So I recently had another milestone in my life, as my youngest daughter just started the 5th grade. And I literally had a little moment last week where I was taking her to school. And I was just like, this is the first time I've been a mom for 18 years, right? This is the first time I've been able to take my daughter to school and not have to worry about like rushing and like doing all of that stuff. And also, when she gets off of the school bus in the afternoon at 2:30 in the afternoon, I'm sitting on the front porch swing waiting for her and welcoming her with her snack ready. Like, I've never been able to do that because I was always working so hard for someone else.
Did you feel like, and this is a little bit off topic, but when you were in corporate America, being the only woman in those rooms and then being the only woman of color in those rooms, did you feel like you had to work harder or prove yourself in a different way to be taken seriously, or my brain is going back to when Kyle was at MIT and there were women there. So STEM in general is very male focused. Mm-hmm. And there were women there who were at MIT, one of the best schools in the entire world, arguably the best STEM school in the world. Mm-hmm. And they were worried. They were dressing. They weren't wearing makeup. They were dressing a certain way because they wanted to be, they said, if I'm in computer science and I don't look frumpy like this, or I'm not going to get taken seriously. Mm-hmm. And I was like, to be at MIT, you've made it, right? You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You could look however you want. You should be able to dress or look or present yourself in any way because your brain is there. Mm-hmm. So it was a really eye-opening moment for me at that level that women are still thinking about those things, right? So I can only imagine to be in a boardroom, right? And have the added weight of being a woman of color, not just a woman, but a woman of color, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having to step up in a different way, right?
Step up in front of sharks
Right.
that are ready to spit you up and chew you out. Daniela, I cannot say that this did not come after unfortunately years of practice of being that person, right? Unfortunately, like in the field that I was in, it was very male dominated. So my background is in operations and strategy. And so I remember getting one of my first big roles in operations management. It was for an aerospace company. And I remember being put as a lead on the manufacturing floor where people are building jet engines, and my entire team were all 30 years my senior, right? And all men, right? And I just remember.
And here comes a beautiful woman, right?
Thank you.
No, but you are. And it's like a lot of times you can't be smart and pretty.
No.
Or you can't, it's an interesting, that's a whole nother podcast episode.
Podcast. I just remember, and I don't know if I added fuel to the fire by the fact that I literally searched the internet far and wide to make sure that if I had to wear steel-toed boots, they were going to be hot pink. So I was like, if I'm going to manufacture it, I'm going in style. Hear me? But no, there were so many times that I did feel a little bit of imposter syndrome, honestly. And my ego was bruised more than a few times. And I got to the fact where I had to lead with my credentials first and foremost. And then the second thing, I would lead with my results.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I will say my entire time in corporate America, it was an uphill battle. I had to get really tough skin. I remember, and this executive, if you're listening, you know who you are. But I remember at the peak of my corporate career, going into an executive vice president. So this is somebody y'all have seen on CNN and MSNBC, and like going in their office and slamming the door and like having some words with them about like, this is how you're not going to treat me. This is what's going to happen. And really like staking my ground and reclaiming my time and putting in my demands. So I will just say this. Over the years, I had to get really good at advocating for myself, because a lot of times people would be surprised when I was in the room. The mere fact that I was in the room, and I did have to lead with my credentials and what the results I could produce.
This is a really interesting transition, because you have had all of that experience. Mm-hmm. You have had the time, and I'm going to call it an opportunity, even though it was an obstacle that you were going through. You had the opportunity to get that thick skin, to believe in yourself and all of those things. For small business owners who haven't had that corporate, like there is imposter syndrome that happens. There is they do have to learn how to believe in themselves. They do have to learn how to set boundaries of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. So is there a fast forward button for that? Like you had years to go through and do it and, gain the confidence because you have the education, you have the credentials, you have the results, right? What about the business owner that they truly do have it in them, but they haven't had those obstacles / opportunities to build that confidence in themselves?
And that is such a great question.
I'm full of them today.
You're full of them today. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say about that, and this may come off harshly, but like it is what it is. And I need every business owner to hear this. Sometimes when we are experiencing imposter syndrome, it is because we are in fact being an imposter. I just gotta say it.
But it's true. You have to get better, right? You have to get better. It's not like you come out starting business as like on your A game.
No.
If I look at my business, what it was 7 years ago compared to what it is now, oh my gosh. It's like 7 versions of Daniela ago. I'm at like Daniela 8.0 right now.
We are like literally same thing here, right? And I think I'm saying this a little bit in jest, but like no, actually in real life, some of us are feeling the imposter syndrome because we're looking at somebody else and we're thinking we're supposed to be them, and then we go out and say, I can do that better than them. Let me go and do such. No, you can't actually, right? Because
I would like to see what happened to my audience if I got church fans.
Yes.
It would not work for me, Kendra. So for those that don't know, Kendra just had an incredible launch and her audience went crazy about the fans. So
it's hilarious. It's a backstory to that though, guys. And like, let this be a lesson. For me, my audience, right, one, I've learned that my audience loves when I show up live. It's a thing. But also the whole church fan thing comes from the fact that my background is my father is a pastor, right? I grew up in a Southern church and like the church fans were a thing. So that is ingrained in who I am. And so that's authentic to me because I'm about that. That's the life that I've lived. Right. And so imagine if I was trying to like steal what somebody else was doing and like, oh, and I have no idea what the backstory is, what the story behind it is, what their experience is. And then I said, I feel imposter syndrome. Well, it's because you are an imposter. So, I think that's the one thing, guys, like as a Fortune 500 CEO, one of the things that it is your job to maintain the integrity of your vision and your mission, not someone else's, right? And so if you are newer in your business journey, give yourself grace and time to really be a student of your craft.
I always say compare yourself to yourself.
Like,
keep a business journal, even if you're just writing 1 or 2 sentences down, and compare yourself to yourself and look at your own growth. Because that, I've heard so many internet business owners, different people saying you don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. I don't know who originally said that, but I've heard it a million times. Absolutely. And it's so true. It's so true that, people that are wanting to, it's their first year in spa, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have 5 employees and I'm not doing that. It's like, it's year 1.
You just started.
Yeah. You got to figure out your core values. You got to figure out who you serve. You got to figure out what you like doing. Right.
And give
all
your
those
business
things
space to evolve. Like Daniela, I think you said it beautifully over your 7 years. Like you're a completely different Daniela and a completely different business owner than you were. I'm on my 3rd rebrand in 2 years. And I see a different woman every time. I see a different version of my business and I'm pivoting again because I'm just like, nope, tried it, don't like it, not who I am anymore. Right. So
it's a new version, right? You've grown and evolved. And when you honor that, you can grow and evolve in a faster way instead of trying to, it's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole, right? If you're not that anymore, go to what you are, right?
Go to what you are. And it's sometimes I'm on a huge movement right now, right? Is what a lot of businesses do, a lot of Fortune 500 companies do. And what I am doing in my business right now is go back to the basics, right? And I say that because these internet streets are crowded. Right? The guru space is crowded. And I think about the Kendra of yesteryear, right? Who, when I first started my first business venture ever back in 2007, before Facebook ads were a thing, right? Before this whole internet marketing thing was a thing, I'm like, what did I do? Right? What did I do? And it's so funny that I went back and started doing some of those things. And one, it feels so right, but also it gets better results than all of the sexy stuff and the advanced stuff that I'm doing. And so I say this to say, if you don't take anything else away from like what it means to truly like think of yourself as a Fortune 500 company, think of yourself as a real business, take some time to quiet the noise. There's a little bit in every single one of us. If you've truly been called to be an entrepreneur, if this is truly your thing, you don't get the calling without being equipped to execute it. Like a lot of us already know what we need to do. Yep. We just have to trust ourselves, and we got to sit our behinds down and listen.
That's the quote of the episode is, if you are truly called to be an entrepreneur, you already have everything that you need to succeed. I believe that. I believe you don't have those dreams if you're not able to fulfill them.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. We had just a little bit of sound trouble right at the end, but if you want to stay in touch with Kendra, be sure to follow her. We've got all her links below this video. She's incredible. And of course, if you want to keep this conversation going, please head on over to the Spa Marketing Made Easy Facebook group, and we'll catch you on the next episode.